Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome to my very first quick draft of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. We've already done plenty of premiere drafts of the format, but quick drafts are a bit different. Instead of drafting with players, we're going to be drafting with bots, so we've got infinite time to think over our picks throughout this draft. Without further ado, let's take our tremendously powerful Pack 1 Pick 1 Mythic, Gisa the Hellraiser. She is a mega bomb for only 5 mana. She's going to let us get 2 tapped 2/2 blue and black zombies every time we commit a crime. So that is whenever we target our opponent, something they control, or something in their graveyard. That technically only triggers once each turn, but that's still a ridiculous amount of stats off of one card, even if you only trigger this ability a single time. As long as she's still on the board, she's giving those zombies +1/+1 and menace as well, and she protects herself with that ward ability, making your opponent spend an additional 2 mana and 2 life to target her in the first place. Ridiculous card. There is no uncommon or common that I would take over Gisa here. So that's the easy Pack 1 Pick 1, which is slightly surprising here because we do have some of the best uncommons in the format in this pack and 2 other rares. So just a busted pack to open up. I am very partial to the Outcaster Greenblade. If Gisa weren't in the pack, this would be my personal pick. It's an excellent way to fix your mana while still providing you with a pretty beefy threat if you draft enough deserts. The common dual lands in this format are all deserts, and I do like to take those highly, so Greenblade can play very, very well for fixing and a threat all in one. But Frontier Seeker is like Outcaster Greenblade's smaller cousin, just for white decks. It doesn't fix you as well, it only grabs a plains or a mount, but it is going to be a 2-for-1 creature. It's a card draw spell and some power toughness on the board at the same time, so really like these. But Primal Command's really nice as well, especially if you have a bomb creature to search up with it, so really busted pack. But we gotta just take Gisa. For pick 2, we have a couple uncommons really competing. The Prairie Dog is just a really solid card in pretty much any deck. It's pretty self-explanatory. You get your little lifelinker. It slowly gets bigger whenever you're not doing anything else. So it does work well with the plot mechanic if you manage to get some of those cards where you're exiling them from your hand to cast them for free on a future turn. That way, you're technically still doing stuff with your mana, but you're also getting the +1/+1 counters on the Prairie Dog. There's also the Intimidation campaign here, which is great for a deck that wants to commit a lot of crimes, which is already kind of where we're heading with our Mythic Rare wanting us to commit plenty of crimes. I do think blue-black is one of the best archetypes for committing crimes and just constantly targeting your opponent and their permanents. So I kind of like Intimidation campaign to follow up Gisa just because it's a card that synergizes a little more with the Gisa. But Prairie Dog is a little bit more flexible, a little bit more open, and that would be a perfectly reasonable pick too. But I'm going to go with Intimidation campaign here. Important to say, we are not really interested in Mindslaver here. It's a big, cool card, very splashy. Sometimes it can be an absolute blowout. My issue with it is that more often than not, it can end up just being basically a 10-mana fog. You're just gaining control of your opponent's next turn, and all you're doing with that turn is making sure your opponent doesn't attack you. So it doesn't end up punching worth its mana value too often. Obviously, the times it does, it's a total blowout. You get to cast your opponent's removal spells against their own creatures, but I just don't think that Magical Christmas Land comes up often enough to try to play that card in draft. Pick 3 is a little bit awkward for us because there's plenty of powerful uncommons here, but they are all gold uncommons that are all non-black cards, so they'd be really difficult to run alongside our Gisa, which is the #1 card we really want to make sure that we're running in this deck. So not a huge fan of this pack for us personally, because the commons aren't that great. Take Up the Shield's a solid combat trick. Thunder Salvo's decent cheap removal. I guess Failed Forwarding can be fine as well. Little bounce spell if we want to really commit to Dimir right off the bat, but I'm a little more interested in potentially the Getaway Glamour here. Obviously not going to go super well with Intimidation campaign and Gisa unless we do get enough fixing to go for a full 3-color deck, but I do think that the Glamour is a nice flexible removal spell. It can also help protect one of your bomb rares like a Gisa, because you can just spend 1 mana and the additional 1 for the spree to exile your own Gisa in response to your opponent trying to remove her with some kind of removal spell. So you make them pay the ward cost, and then afterwards you just flicker her anyway, so she's going to stick around. So that can be really nice. And of course, you can always cast this for the full 4 mana, exile your biggest creature so that they have the creature with the highest power on the board to blow up with that secondary effect. So solid little flexible removal spell that I think we'll take to go with the Gisa. But I think the top 3 picks here really are like the Glamour, the Conduit Pylons just for flexibility for potential fixing, or the Failed Forwarding just to stick to our blue-black start. Pick 4, we're starting to get down to some pretty average packs here. We have a solid counterspell for blue-black control, or we have the Rictus Robber, which can be quite a good stat line for the mana cost as long as you get to make sure a creature dies before you cast this, and the plot ability really helps you do that. You plot this on turn 3, then on turn 4, attack first, and if anything trades, then you play this post-combat, but if not, cast some kind of removal spell, make sure something dies, and you get a great stat line off this card. So I think I'm going to take the Rictus Robber here. But I do like Phantom Interference as well. The only issue with this card being that it plays pretty poorly against plot. If your opponent sees that you have a blue and 1-up and they want to play around the counterspell, if they have a plot card in their hand, they can just plot their card, you can't do anything about it, and then by the time they cast it off of its plot, they're casting it for free, so they'll definitely have the additional 2 mana up to pay for the interference. So that's the one awkward part of interference. It's pretty great in any other position, though. So I definitely don't want to say it's unplayable, but I do think Robber's probably a little better here. Also works great with Gisa, giving those zombies +1/+1 in Menace. If we get 2 zombies off 1 card, that's pretty nasty. And pick 5 is going to be quite simple here. We've got a Repulse, which is excellent, efficient interaction out of blue to go with our Intimidation campaign, and our Gisa. It's just another crime. It's a way to slow our opponent down, grind the game out a little bit, and cycle through our deck, get closer to our more impactful cards, like our Gisa. For pick 6, 3 main cards competing for me. One is Binding Negotiation. This is a fine discard spell. It's a little bit replacement level, so I don't like to take it super highly. But obviously, if you have this early in your opening hand instead of top decking it later, then you can use this to prevent your opponent from playing their big bomb, which is really impactful. The only issue I have is the same issue I have with any discard spell. If you top deck this late in the game when they're already down to like 1 or 0 cards in hand, it is quite bad. So a little bit narrow there. You really have to draw it at the right time. Spinewood's Paladin is another card competing here just because it's one of the best commons in the format, just a super beefy green creature if we want to push towards like Sultai here, green, blue, and black. Then the other card competing is the Jagged Barons, because even if we don't end up splashing red, this is a way to commit a crime just by playing our land drop for turn, which could be valuable if we get enough cards like Intimidation Campaign and Gisa that care about committing crimes. Again, we already have 2 cards that have pretty impactful abilities when we're committing crimes, and we're likely to get more in this archetype, and that's even if we don't end up wanting to splash red. So I think I'm going to take Jagged Barons here, honestly, over the Paladin, but mainly over the Binding Negotiation. These are the 2 cards really competing out of this pack. Now for pick 7, we have a completely off-color desert with the Abraded Bluffs. I guess technically we might be playing white with this Getaway Glamour off of a splash, but Bluffs doesn't touch black or blue, the 2 main colors we're drafting right now. So I think this time I will go ahead and take that Binding Negotiation over the Abraded Bluffs. For pick 8, we have some filler blue cards competing. The Shackle Slinger is designed really for a deck that's casting 2 spells per turn, not something we're going to do that often. We will, like when we're plotting a Rictus Robber or something like that, but for the most part, I think we are just going to be casting 1 spell per turn until we get to like 7 mana. Then maybe we get to like play a removal spell and recast Intimidation Campaign in the same turn, but I just don't think we're doing it consistently enough for the Slinger, whereas I do like Peerless Rope Master in more defensive decks, and blue-black is a pretty defensive archetype where we are going to be facing a lot of aggressive creatures that are tapped because they've been attacking us, and we can consistently get that bounce trigger off the Rope Master, so pretty big fan of that card for blue-black. There is Baron Bertram. We are speculating on splashing white. My issue with that is that Bertram is a pretty strict build around. You need to have a good amount of token production for Baron Bertram to do anything. So it's not the most powerful splash since you have to build around it so much. We don't have any token production yet outside of Gisa. I mean, I guess we've got a Rictus Robber as well, but still, I don't think we're going to get a ton of blue-black token production. This is a pretty clear black-white build around. You want a lot of mercenary tokens and stuff like that. So just take the Rope Master here. Pick 9, we actually have a pretty close pick between the Failed Fording and the Bandits Hall. The Failed Fording is a cheap way to commit a crime and slow our opponent down. The Bandits Hall is kind of like a weaker version of the Intimidation campaign. It's going to be another card draw engine if we commit enough crimes. And this one also ramps into some of our bigger plays, which is nice. So it's a very slow card for sure. Where you play it, it doesn't impact the board in any way. It's just there for card advantage and mana over time. But if you have enough cheap interaction to go with it, then you can definitely support it and make sure that you're not getting hit too hard for not having played any kind of blockers or removal spells that turn. So I do think it can be great, just like the Intimidation campaign can be. You just need to build around it a lot, and I think this is a deck that's going to be doing it. So I kind of want to go full crime control here and take the Bandits Hall to go with the Intimidation campaign, and now we just take all the cheap interaction like the Failed Fording as much as possible in future picks. Well, pick 10 is going to be another Rope Master. Pick 11, we do get a Failed Fording to come back around for us, which is great now that we have Intimidation campaign and Bandits Hall. Now we'll take a random uncommon that's off color and move on to pack number 2. All right, well, pack 2 is a really good pack for us, which is awkward because we only get to take one of these cards right now. We try to wheel something. I mean, there's so much blue and black in this pack, we're pretty much guaranteed to get something back out of here. But the main cards competing for us are Blood Hustler. This can turn into a win condition all by itself because we're already focusing on committing crimes so often. This is going to be really big really quickly, and it gives us a way to consistently commit a crime every turn with its mana sink ability. Dumping 4 mana into this commits a crime to trigger our Intimidation campaign, our Bandits Hall, our Gisa, anything like that. So pretty big fan of the Blood Hustler here. That's probably what I'm going to take. But there's also really efficient interaction with Repulse. There's a potential like 3-for-1 piece of interaction with Metamorphic Blast. If we do this later in the game, we can draw 2 cards off of this and turn something into a 0/1, block it with our own 1/1 to kill it. There's Vault Plunderer, which is a 2-for-1 value play. You draw a card when you play it. There's Rictus Robber, that can be 2 creatures off of the 1 spell. There's a Satoru, which is a pretty fun build around. However, currently we only have 1 card that works with this, the 1 Rictus Robber that we're plotting. There's plenty of ways to build around this. If you have a Graveyard Recursion, where you reanimate something from your graveyard directly to the battlefield, that will trigger Satoru, so you don't specifically have to take just plot spells. There are a couple other ways to work with this, but it is still kind of narrow, so I do prefer the Blood Hustler to that. And last and certainly least, we do have a blue Mythic Rare, but it's a blue Mythic Rare that involves playing a bunch of artifacts with mana value 3 or greater, and there's not a lot of those in this format. As you can see, the big score cards by that different set symbol there, those were designed to be a completely different set from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. They just got squished in, so sometimes you'll open cards like this where it's like, well, I don't even think there is a way to draft around this, at least not consistently at all. So I'm going to go with the Blood Hustler here, but I would be perfectly happy with basically any of these other 5 cards coming back around. We can play around with those if they come back. Pick 2 is another great pack for us. We have a Crime Land with Jagged Barrens. We also have the Vault Plunderer, again for a 2-for-1 creature and draw a card, so trade this off and we're up ahead in card advantage. We have a Desperate Bloodseeker here. This is another way to commit a crime. We can target our opponent with this when it hits the board, plus having lifelink can help us stick around a little longer. We just trade this off and get a little pocket of breathing room there against more aggressive decks. There's also Lively Dirge, which is pretty fun. If you have a really powerful creature that costs mana value 4 or less, this is a great tutor to just slam that thing on the board. It's particularly good with Satoru. If we took the Satoru, this would be a really fun card, because we can use this to shove Satoru into the graveyard from our deck, and then reanimate Satoru in something else, trigger the Satoru, draw the extra card. So that's, one of those ways to work with Satoru. So that could be pretty cool, but obviously we didn't take Satoru here, and I don't think we have great cards to reanimate with it right now, so rather take that later. I think I'm just going to take Bloodseeker. I think I value committing a crime enough with one Intimidation campaign and a Bandit's Hall already, that we just try to do our card advantage engines off of committing a bunch of crimes rather than like casting a bunch of individual Vault Plunderers. So I'm going to go for Bloodseeker over Vault Plunderer here, actually. All right, now we have a couple white splashes mostly. We have Shepherd of the Clouds, which can be a big finisher that also gives us, again, good card advantage with that graveyard recursion. There's also Journey to Nowhere if we just want more interaction, more actual removal, because currently we only have one spell in the whole deck that actually kills something, and that's the Getaway Glamour here. Other than that, it's like we bounce something, we make them discard something, we bounce something, we bounce something with double Rope Master. Yeah, we don't have a lot of permanent removal right now, so I could actually see Journey to Nowhere over Shepherd of the Clouds. In most decks, the majority of the time, I'd want to do Shepherd over the Journey, but I think here, we like crimes a lot, and we're low on actual hard removal. I'm going to go for Journey to Nowhere over Shepherd of the Clouds. All right, and yet again, as I just said, we are looking for more actual hard removal, so the main picks here are going to be Murder to destroy a creature, or Consuming Ashes to exile one. I think that the additional 1 mana is worth exiling instead of destroying, especially because we can also potentially get some Surveil off of Consuming Ashes. So I'm going to go for Consuming Ashes over the Murder here, but there are other cards that are super reasonable for blue-black. Again, that Failed Forting that we already have, but we're committing enough crimes that the Raven of Fell Omens can give us some good life drain going on, and the Rattleback Apothecary can give us some life link to keep us in the game. So I think these cards are good too, but we are really looking for that removal, so Consuming Ashes will be the pick here. And now we just grab a Jailbreak Scheme to slow our opponent down again, just plop their best creature back on top of their library. Pick 6, I am a pretty big fan of This Town Ain't Big Enough. 2 mana to bounce your opponent's best permanent and one of your permanents as well. So if you have good Enter the Battlefield effects, that's where this card can get really, really nice. Like we can bounce our own Desperate Bloodseeker, so we can commit another crime by recasting it later. It's not the craziest thing to do with it. We could bounce our own Intimidation campaign, but this card already would bounce itself when we're targeting one of our opponent's cards. But again, the 2 mana part, that's just the backup plan. If you make it to 5 mana, this card's a great way to slow your opponent down. You get to bounce 2 of their permanents and don't even touch your own stuff. So I really like This Town Ain't Big Enough. I think when we already have 1 Intimidation campaign and 1 Bandit's Hall, I will take the Town Ain't Big Enough over a third copy of those. I would probably take Intimidation campaign over This Town Ain't Big Enough, but Bandit's Hall, I think, is the slower, weaker kind of card engine of the two. I don't think I want a second copy of this over some really premium interaction like This Town Ain't Big Enough, but I would take this over everything else in this pack, over the Rat Warlock and the little Djinn here. But let's grab This Town Ain't Big Enough. Pick 7, I am really wishing this was a white dual land with our little white splash here, but I do think the crime land looks pretty decent. We could also take a second Failed Forting or a first Loan Shark. Another little plot card there. Again, I'm pretty happy with Campaign Bandit's Hall to try to get us there. Maybe find another Intimidation campaign in another pack if we're lucky. Maybe wheel that Bandit's Hall. It is possible. I think in Premier Draft it'd be pretty possible because a lot of people are on the big green aggressive decks over the Bandit's Hall control kind of archetypes. So yeah, I don't think I need to take too much like dedicated card draw. I think I'm going to go ahead and just take another crime land here over the cheap bounce of the Failed Forting. Now for pick 8, we've got Skullduggery, which is a crime, where we have some filler creatures, a Boneyard Desecrator, or a Daring Thunder Thief. We could also, now that we have 1 green dual land, speculate towards a Hard Bristle Bandit or a Cactarantula, but Hard Bristle Bandit is not the kind of card you want to splash in because you always want to cast it on turn 2, and your splash color is going to be something you don't find until, you know, your 5th, 6th land drop a lot of the time, rather than a mana you're always going to have on turn 2. So splashing in something like Cactarantula would be better if it weren't for the fact that Cactarantula needs double green, which makes it a difficult splash. So I think we're riding out the green cards here and just taking something mediocre on color. I don't think our creature count is super high, so I don't think we're getting into enough combat for Skullduggery to be that consistent, but let's see. Yeah, we have like 6 creatures right now. Probably can't be a Skullduggery deck unless you are a pretty creature-heavy deck that is quite combat-oriented, something at like 15 plus creatures, and that doesn't look like where we're going to end up. So I guess I'll just take like a flash turtle so I can hold up removal and slam this down if we don't do it. We've got some good instance like Repulse and Consuming Ashes. This town ain't big enough, so we can hold one of those up, and if we don't cast it, we can still spend all of our mana to get something on board, which is nice. Pick 9, we did get the Rictus Robber to come back, so we'll go ahead and grab that. Pick 10, now we have a Lively Dirge as an option. Doesn't look incredible in this deck, but it certainly looks better than Boneyard Desecrator. We don't have a lot of expendable cards to sacrifice to that. Pick 11, now a Rooftop Assassin. Finish off a bigger creature that's just been dealt 1 or 2 points of damage. Raven of Fell Omens does actually look genuinely good for this deck, so I'm happy with that. And Link Breaker will run it for now, but probably one of the first cuts. Alright, well that's surprising. Pack 3, pick 1, we have somehow opened up 2 copies of Gisa. It's going to be our pack 1, pick 1, and our pack 3, pick 1. We don't even have to look at the rest of this pack, but I will anyway to see what we want to wheel. If we're really lucky, we can get this Forlorn Flats to come back to help with our white splash. But if we don't get that to come back, then just like a fine bounce spell like a Scheme or a Fording, or the Brigand actually is looking pretty decent here. We are committing a lot of crimes to give that the unblockability. Stay ahead in cards. Yeah, pretty excellent pack, but obviously it has to just be another Gisa. For pack 3, pick 2, we have Efficient Removal with Desert Stew. This is a fine card even if we don't have a desert on board, and if we do, it becomes really good. At -3/-3, you're pretty happy with it. At -4/-4 or better, you're super happy. Currently only have 2 deserts in the deck, so it's probably just -2/-2 or -3/-3, but still a pretty good instant. Still happy to take that here. Over Bloodseeker is the main competition. Again, cheap way to commit a crime. That also gives you some breathing room thanks to that life gain. So I do like that. But even Rope Master and Strix would not be unplayable for this kind of deck. Pack 3, pick 3, we have some mediocre creatures, and then just a big beefy card draw spell, a draw 3 to really get ahead in card advantage. We'll go ahead and grab that, plan the heist. Pack 3, pick 4 is actually a really rough pack for us, because I want both of these uncommons a lot, and I don't think either of them is going to come back. There's the Blood Hustler, again, for something that can really get beefed up over time in this kind of archetype. It's a really consistent way to commit crimes, but I think we're doing pretty great on that. And when it comes to win conditions, we don't really need more. Now that we have double Gisa, that's a pretty consistent, pretty explosive win condition. So I think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the Slickshot Lockpicker, which is a nice 2-for-1 spell. We plot this out so that we can, on a later turn, use this to recast one of our cheap pieces of removal while also committing a creature to the board. Sometimes we don't even have to plot it. Like if it's turn 5 and we already cast a Desert Stew, we can just cast a Lockpicker and recast a Desert Stew from Graveyard, and boom, there's our 2-for-1. We've got a 2/3 blocker to trade off, and we've killed one of their creatures. So I think Lockpicker plays really well with cheap instants and sorceries, in particularly cheap removal spells or bounce spells like Repulse, Desert Stew, Failed Fording. We have some pretty good cards to go with the Lockpicker, so I'm going to grab that over Hustler, but just barely. Pick 5, we have found a white desert, a white dual land to help with the white splash. I will absolutely take that. The main competition here is another copy of Bandit's Hall, which also technically helps with the white splash. And we didn't manage to open another Intimidation campaign here, so we're only on 2 big card draw engines, 1 Intimidation campaign, 1 Bandit's Hall. But I think I'm still a little happier with some more fixing here than another Bandit's Hall. Because we did at least get another like big card draw spell with Plan the Heist, And we have a little bit of incidental card draw, like on Repulse. Cast this plus draw a card on Lockpicker. It's kind of like a 2-for-1, so that brings us ahead in value as well. Yeah, I think we can get away with grabbing mana fixing, a mana fixing land over the big mana rock. Pick 6 is going to be pretty mediocre. Another Rope Master, an Assassin, or a Silver Deputy. I think I'll probably end up cutting whichever one of these I take. Take a look at the mana curve here. We already have 5 4-drops. We are not cutting any of those to make room for another because the double Gisa here, and obviously if I take a Rope Master, I would be cutting a Rope Master for a Rope Master. I guess I also already have like 1, 2, 3, 4 4-drops. I already have 1 Rooftop Assassin, and I don't have enough creatures getting into combat that often to really utilize this effect super well. Yeah, I really just don't think I'm playing any of these at all, but maybe Silver Deputy's the closest. Pick 7, once again, we're just not going to play a Silver Deputy, and we're not going to play another Link Breaker. I don't even think I'm playing the first copy. I guess I'll just take a Crom, but that's not a splash that's particularly likely either. Pick 8, I don't think I'm going to be playing a bunch of expendable creatures to sacrifice to the Contractor. I guess you can always play this as just like a 3-mana sorcery, draw 2, lose 2, but losing life in a more controlling deck can be rough. Because there are some pretty good aggressive decks in this format, like green-white kind of stuff, white-black, red-green, any of those kind of combinations can just beat you down, and when you spend 3 mana just to draw 2 and also shoot yourself in the face while not impacting the board, that can be super, super, super rough. So you do really want expendable creatures to go for this, or go with this, so I like it in black-white, where you are drafting multiple copies of Link Breaker and a lot of sacrifice cards, but I don't like it in blue-black. In blue-black, I think we would just prefer the Canyon Crab. And it's not even like we have a ton of ways to not cast any spells from our hand in this deck, but we have enough. You know, we have a couple good instants like Consuming Ashes and Repulse, and we have a couple good plot cards like Rictus Robbers and a Plan the Heist, so we can get this to do some things while also soaking up some damage. Pick 9 is going to be pretty interesting here. Cheap instant speed bounce. Cheap sorcery speed tempo bounce, where they basically have to skip their next draw step to redraw whatever you bounced. Or we've got a card draw engine with the Nimble Brigand. So I think here, with these all being pretty great for the deck, we actually do want to just take some time, since we're in a quick draft and we have infinite time, to basically just build our deck right now and see what it looks like we're missing out on the most. So we're going to sort all of our non-creature spells into one pile, see what our creature curve looks like, and then we might sort the non-creature spells by their mana value as well to see what's early interaction and what's more of a late game like value play, stuff like that. See what the deck is really lacking here. Okay, I just don't think I'm playing Silver Deputy at all. We can cut that. I don't think I'm playing Link Breaker at all. We can cut that. Don't love the Thunder Thief or the Rooftop Assassin. Those are potential cuts. Then let's put the deserts right here. Let's drop those for now. This is 27 cards, so this is 3 lands, 24 non-lands. We want to be at 23 non-lands. 23 non-lands and 17 lands is the standard average. That is what Arena will auto-build for you. So this is cheap removal because we can do it for 3 mana to just destroy our opponent's creature because it's probably the biggest creature. This is cheap interaction, 3 mana to bounce. This is cheap interaction, 2 mana to exile, 2 mana to bounce, 2 mana to discard, 2 mana kill. This is not cheap interaction. It's a late game tutor effect for like 5 mana. So I will put that in the separate pile, but this 3 mana bounce spell, this is a card draw value engine that we want to do over time that doesn't technically impact the board at all. So I'm going to put it in the second pile of like expensive dirtily stuff, and that's the same pile I'm going to put Bandit's Hall, Plan the Heist, and you know what? This town ain't big enough as well. I think I'm going to put that in the pile too for being 5 mana, and Consuming Ashes, we'll just put that in the middle. So, I mean, we've got a good amount of cheap interaction here. We've got Glamour for 3, Jailbreak Scheme for 3, Journey for 2, Fording for 2, Negotiation for 2, Desert Stew for 2, and Repulsed for 3. Although Negotiation, questionable to count it as interaction since it's not impacting something that's resolved and actually like gaining us any life or anything there. I do think we could use a tiny bit more cheap interaction, but we're looking really good on non-creature spells in general. I think another card engine could go a long way. I kind of like the Nimble Brigand here. We just get the main phase of Jailbreak Scheme, then send in an unblockable Brigand, draw another card. These can dig towards the double Gisa. Yeah, I'm thinking looking at this deck here. I'm pretty happy to take a Brigand. Now for pick 10, there's a Harrier Strix. That's a one-mana way to commit a crime, and then you've got a mana sink later in the game if you run out of stuff to do and you flood out, then you can start ditching your lands to draw their cards. Not terrible. Definitely better than a third Rope Master, but it might get cut. Probably the first creature I'm interested in cutting here. It's another Daring Thunder Thief. I'm already not really interested in the first one, but I'm not going to play the Black Snag Buzzard either. Heartless Pillage really depends on the matchup. This card's going to be horrific for us against anything remotely aggressive, but if we're in a mirror match where our opponent's also a controlling kind of value deck, then it'll be pretty fine. I don't think our deck can really afford to play too many more cards that don't impact the board or protect itself, so I'll just take another Harrier Strix over the Heartless Pillage. Although that's probably going to get cut as well as we move into the deck building. Alright, so we are at 44 cards right now. We get to cut 4 cards out of here and be on a 17 land deck. We have some really impactful 5 mana value plays though, so I would not hate going up to an 18 land version here. Especially in something a bit more controlling. I think we drop the Harrier Strixes, just kind of cheap early damage I don't think we really care about. Also, we don't really have any Lively Dirge combos. For the most part, we don't have anything that works great with this. And we're not, like, going to have multiple 2-mana creatures in our grave that often. I guess we only need 1 2-mana creature in our grave. If we cast this for 5 mana, then we tutor out another 2-mana creature, put that in the grave, and boom, reanimate both of them. Still not the craziest. Again, I really do prefer this in decks that have just, like, a really good 4-mana value creature you can find. Something like that. Or, like, a good combo like the Satoru. I don't think this is that kind of deck, so let's cut those 3 just immediately. And then I'm actually a little bit worried about the Rictus Robbers here just being 3-mana 4/3s or 4-mana 4/3s, which are just not very good. Because when you look at the ways that we have to make sure that a creature has died this turn, when we're on a lower creature count deck, and a lot of our creatures are pretty small, 1 power, 2 power, 1 power, 2 power, 0 power. Like, we're not trading off creatures a lot pre-combat, or during combat, to cast this in main phase 2 that often. And when it comes to our removal that actually destroys creatures, because our Consuming Ashes exiles and most of our removal spells bounce, like Jailbreak Scheme, Repulse, this town ain't big enough, all that kind of stuff, we're really not getting the Rictus Robbers active that often. We've got 1 Desert Stew that can do that. Otherwise, we're really just, I guess, a Getaway Glamour. Yeah, 1 Desert Stew, 1 Getaway Glamour, or we're really hoping something dies during combat. These actually seem kind of bad in here. 3-mana 4/3 or 4-mana 4/3. Which is awkward. We just didn't get enough murder-style removal in the end. Maybe because we had a Rictus Robber at the time, we should have taken Murder over Consuming Ashes, but I wasn't thinking of that potential lineup there. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's a way to cut it here. Just drop the Robbers, because they're mostly just going to be a single 4/3. And then we do get to play 18 lands because we cut that. Yeah, I don't think there's anything in this deck that would be much better than an 18th land. Like, I mean, maybe we run a Seize the Secrets instead, and because it draws 2, that probably helps dig for another land if we are really concerned with hitting 5 mana consistently for these spells. So that's an option too. But I think I'm just going to go nice 18 land control here. Check how our colors are looking. We're on 3 white sources in the mana base and a bandit's hall. So that is 4 white sources for 2 white cards. I think that's perfectly fine. And then we have 11 blue cards and 9 black, but we have really important double black costs between 2 copies of Gisa and a Consuming Ashes. So I want to be pretty much 50-50 on blue and black mana. And currently we're on 7 blue sources and 8 black sources. So I guess our final land, slap another island in here. And I think we're looking pretty great. Yeah, we will call it a deck here. All right, here's a look at the final deck list for today. We're on a blue-black crime control build. We have some great cheap interaction to keep us alive and slow the game down. A lot of bounce with cards like Jailbreak Scheme, Repulse, and Failed Forwarding, but also some discard with Binding Negotiation, and some full-on removal with Journey to Nowhere, Desert Stew, Getaway Glamour, Consuming Ashes. So we're trying to really slow our opponent down in their early game, and then cast a little bit of card draw or some card draw engines with Plan the Heist, Intimidation Campaign, and Bandit's Hall to dig for our Mega Bombs, our 2 copies of Gisa the Hellraiser. So looks like a pretty fun, very different strategy from what we've been doing lately, just constantly opening up great green-white rares and just playing green-white like 4 times in a row or something. So nice to go kind of a completely opposite direction from that and be nice and dirtily over here. So we'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. All right, here we are for game 1 on the play. We have no black source in the hand with 3 black cards. We only need a single black source for the hand to actually be pretty good with the Blood Hustler Brigand combo going a long way. I'm going to gamble on this one looking for a black source. If we find 1 black source and they don't kill Brigand, we can pretty consistently make sure that this is unblockable. So that can draw us a bunch of extra cards to dig towards the second black source. And we have like 10 black sources in the deck. It's like 9 lands and a Bandit's Hall that we could find. So we'll see. We could absolutely get punished by this hand. But I like rolling with the gamble here. I'm going to get a little cocky with it. Alright, the one thing I don't love here is if they have the 2-mana counter for the Brigands, but I don't have any other spells to really play around it here. So we're just going to run out the Brigand, and it looks like they did not have the 2-mana counter spell. So Brigand is here for now. There's a Kellen the Kid. Do I want to put that back in their hand or back on top of their deck? How does this work? Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you get to cast another one. So if they're plotting stuff, they get to do additional things. Yeah, or they can play a land for free as well. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. I think I'm going to Repulse instead of Jailbreak Scheme, just because I really need to find another land here. So let's draw 2 cards this turn. There we go. There's the Swamp. And boom, there's land for turn. And now we're looking like we're in an excellent position. Because now I can put that Kellen back on top of their deck when they recast it and play a Blood Hustler in the same turn. I guess like we want to sequence that, right? We want a Blood Hustler first to get the counter on it. However, we do really need the Brigand to draw another land to do both of these for 5 mana. But even if we miss a land next turn, I think we're in a pretty solid position from here. And we're getting close to just this town ain't big enough bouncing 2 things. Yeah, we don't even need the Gisa in hand to be pretty confident with our current position. So, yeah, I do think I need to bounce Kellen bad enough to just Jailbreak Scheme first, which means not a good sequence for the Blood Hustler to get the counter or anything, but I think it's still worth it here. Draw the card. Come on, land. Come on, land. Come on, land. All right, no land. But again, we're still fine. We can, this town ain't big enough next turn to bounce Kellen and our own Blood Hustler. Draw another card. If we do top deck any untapped land in the deck, then even if they like play a 2-drop and a Kellen, we can get the bounce going. All right, there's a land that commits a crime, so Brigand can go right past the giant beaver and draw us a card here. 4 mana up. Am I going to want to do anything for 4? I don't think so. So I think we're fine to play Blood Hustler first so that we get the counter on that. Then draw the card. But then we just play like a Canyon Crab here. And that blocks the giant beaver. Ooh, it's the black source. Let's go. All right. If we can wait till we have 7 mana for the Gisa, that'll be even better. Just make sure we get immediate crime value there. So that could be another good argument for actually running 18 lands in this deck, is we can treat Gisa as like a 7-drop. Because we don't really want to play her until we know we commit 1 crime before she dies. Well, there's another way to do it, but tap land, and I need an untapped black source to cast her this turn anyway, so I guess not really a great way. I mean, I think our crime for this turn is just going to be killing Kellen. So we kill the Kellen. I guess I can cast Raven and still kill Kellen, and then trigger all of the crime cards. I'm going to play my untapped land this turn, so that if they have the counter unless I pay 2, I've got the 2 mana up. Now we exile Kellen, we're committing all these crimes, we get a counter on Hustler, we're draining a life with the Raven, we're getting an unblockable Brigand in. Draw another card, find an untapped land. All of our crime cards only trigger once per turn. This is once each turn, this is once each turn, so I'm just going to hold on to Bloodseeker, because I think that committing a crime is just that valuable, especially with Gisa in hand, that it's worth losing the Bloodseeker tempo, especially when we have an alternate use of our mana. If our opponent plays something really good, we can bounce that at our Canyon Crab or something like that. For 2 mana. Could be great if they try to do the, like, one of their creatures deals damage equal to its power to 2 of ours. That would be just nasty. There's the Stagecoach security. Come on in, 5/5. Welcome to my face. I cannot block that with Canyon Crab here, so I shan't. Alright, do we want to play Gisa and a Bloodseeker or Gisa and a Gulch? I think Gisa and Bloodseeker seems best. Hello, says Gisa. Hello, says Bloodseeker. And there's the concession from our opponent. Probably the moment they saw the Gisa, that options menu pulled up real quick, and they were over it. So, really nice showing from the deck. That was a pretty greedy keep from me. But again, I felt that as long as Brigand didn't get killed, we had the tools to draw enough cards to find mana, and it really worked out for us because Brigand didn't get killed. It did take some time, and we had to repulse, draw the 2 cards there, and then scheme and draw another card, but it worked out. So relatively lucky for a bit of a greedy keep, but overall still a great showing from the deck, even if the mulligan decisions were not technically correct or anything, but we'll take it. We are 1-0 heading into game 2. All right, here we are for game 2 with a very similar hand. This time we need to draw the blue source, but we don't have a card draw engine until we draw the blue source, so it is definitely worse because we can't use the color of mana that we're stuck on to try to draw into the alternate color. I think I actually do have to take the mulligan this time around. Well, these are some really rough draws, mana-wise. Do I have to mold a 5 off this one? I kind of feel like I do. Without drawing a black source, we don't get to do anything until 4 mana. That's when we plan the heist. Yeah, I think I have to mulligan again here. We do have like 3 different card ranges in this deck, so we can come back from some pretty rough moles if we are lucky. Okay, we're definitely keeping Repulse. That is the most important card in this hand. Intimidation Campaign also feels pretty important, as does Jailbreak Scream. Yeah, if we like don't find a black source here, we're like so doomed anyway. I think we just ditch a land and hope to top deck Swamp. Right, because how valuable is... Like, what if I keep this and then I just draw like islands and plains and stuff? Then just real bad anyway. Yeah. Let's ditch these. And now any land draw is good. There's like 15 good draws. But black sources are really good draws. Uh-oh. Oh, I just get rolled over here. Do I want to play around Snakeskin Veil here? +1/+1 hexproof trick? Or do I want to wait till their turn? See if they put anything on it. There's not really a lot of good auras or equipment here they're going to dump all their mana onto, so I'm just going to repulse right now to play around the Snakeskin Veil. And again, we have to play the spell that draws us a card here because we are desperate for the right colors. Recast the Steed. Alright, well. Might be getting got by some mana issues on this game. I don't think our mana base is bad. I think we just lost the lottery spin on this one. Yeah, we have like 9 blue and 9 black sources. Our mana base is better than most 2-color decks. So, it just is what it is. Yep. That is probably it. Because now, yeah, now they slam down a creature and Tumbleweed Rising the same turn, which lets them mount up the Steed and get an Angel. And we don't have a board wipe in the deck. Alright, well, Arena has decided we lose. Not much we can do in that game. I mean, we mulliganed all the way to 5 to try to fix the mana issues and still did not get there. Again, like, we checked our land counts with the deck building. Our mana base is perfectly reasonable. Just sometimes you lose that lottery wheel. That roulette wheel. Alright, here we are on the play for game 3. This is our best opening hand yet. We have both of our main colors at the ready. We can Hustler into Negotiation. Get the counters rolling onto that nice and early. And we've got double Rope Master later to really slow our opponent down. Bristlepack Sentry. Alright, not going to be any attacks for a little while here. Let's see what they've got in their hand. Stingerback Terror. No thank you. Luckily, they do look like they are pure green-red here, so they probably don't have Graveyard Recursion. I say that and I might get jinxed by, you know, Swamp into Mourner's Surprise, pick up the Stingerback Terror, but we'll see. Nope, looks like pure green-red to me. They milled a green-red dual card. There's a Desert Stew off the top. I don't mind that at all. I could Desert Stew the Sentry if they block trying to kill Hustler, but I think I'd rather just dump all my mana into getting a Drain with Hustler, saving Desert Stew for something better. Voracious Varmint. They can destroy an artifact or enchantment. I really have to keep that in mind, because I have forgotten about that extra text a couple times. Gotten blown out. I don't think I have too many cards that matters against, but if I draw into like Intimidation Campaign or Bandit's Hall, I do need to worry about that. Okay, so they've got 1 mana up, so they have Snakeskin Veil up, so I can't like Desert Stew attack in or anything here. Also, Rope Master's not going to bounce anything, but I could still play it as a 4/4. It's probably better than just draining and getting a single counter on Hustler. Yeah. Probably should commit some good blockers to the board here. Even if we lose that enter the battlefield value. Next turn, though, I have the mana to activate Blood Hustler and Desert Stew, which is really nice. Well, not if they tether the Blood Hustler, but I don't have any kind of interaction for Mystical Tether anyway, so it was a much better turn than had I not played the Rope Master, because then I'd just be taking a million here. Single 4/4 is successfully holding them off for now, so I kind of do like planning the heist and holding up this Desert Stew. Alright, there's Intimidation Campaign. I do need to keep in mind that Varmint. So we might Desert Stew the Varmint. And they're just going to pass through. All right. I feel like this is worth it. With Intimidation Campaign in hand, I think just killing the Varmint is worth it here. They could Snakeskin Veil, but then we kill the Snakeskin Veil. They don't have it to save like a bomb later. All right, let's go. So now we Intimidation Campaign. Get this rolling. Getaway Glamour? No white source yet, so that could be a little awkward, but... Alright. I mean, I could attack in and then try to bounce one with failed forwarding, but then that's actually a pretty good turn for Snakeskin Veil, so I don't want to, like, set myself up for that. You know what? I do want to draw some more cards off Intimidation Campaign, and it is really not the end of the world if they Snakeskin Veil a bounce spell, so... do that. In fact, I think it would just be really good for me if they Snakeskin Veil the bounce spell instead of full-on removal. Yeah, so they're not going to do that. So we slow them down. Ooh. Now we have Bandits Hall and Intimidation Campaign. Campaign draws a card immediately, so I want to do that first and see if that'll change what I want to do here. Jailbreak Scheme does not change what I want to do. Still just want to play the Hall. Now I have a Getaway Glamour for 3 to try to blow up the Paladin, but now they do get the Snakeskin Veil. Either of these instant speed? Getaway Glamour is instant speed, so I could Jailbreak Scheme, targeting Paladin, and when they Snakeskin Veil, I can respond with Getaway Glamour. Could be an interesting turn. The problem is all of our cards that care about crimes only trigger once per turn, so committing 2 crimes in 1 turn is a little bit iffy, but still probably worth it. They've got a Fling as well. So if they have the mana, they could like Veil plus Fling. Ooh, Dance of the Tumbleweeds. Well, shoot. I guess now I can Getaway Glamour to get rid of the Snakeskin Veil at instant speed to use both these, and then I can Jailbreak Scheme next turn when they no longer have Snakeskin Veil. That actually seems pretty nice, because then I am getting value off of each crime committed. So we Getaway Glamour, they're going to Snakeskin Veil, but I get to pick up Intimidation Campaign, I get a counter onto Bandits Hall, and then I untap next turn, I replay Campaign, and I cast the Jailbreak Scheme and still kill the 9/9 at that point, while getting another counter on Bandits Hall and another card draw off Intimidation Campaign. That feels excellent. Oh, that's so tempting. But I wouldn't be committing a crime this turn, so we're not going to do that. Hold up. 6 mana, I can play the Scheme and a Brigand, or I can make an unblockable Rope Master. I don't really think I need to hit for damage right now, so I'm going to play the Brigand. Or I could replay Intimidation Campaign, good lord. This is just Wombo Combo Town. Let's replay the campaign. Land drop, let's go. There's the Spinewoods Paladin. Alright, now we're just looking to draw into pretty much any crime. So I kind of draw a card off the Bandits Hall. Crime, crime, crime. That's a crime. Do we have 8? We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We certainly do. So I can play Gisa. Oh, but they can Fling. Dang it. Huh. Well. I mean, I still get 2 zombies, right? They fling Paladin at Gisa. Oh, they can't right now. They have to recast it and fling next turn, because Gisa's got Ward 2. I could repulse my own Gisa. I could have them fling at Gisa and then I repulse her. This is interesting enough. I guess I just hold it up. And worst case scenario, I'm still just going to repulse one of their cards and get 2 zombies next turn, and then just let Gisa die. Which is still pretty good. Like, especially when I have a second Gisa in here and she's legendary, and I'm drawing enough cards, I will almost definitely draw the next Gisa at some point. That still feels pretty good, though. Make them sacrifice their Fling and their Paladin for us to just still have Gisa. Yeah. And you can tell they are getting frustrated because now they're just spamming through the turn. It's auto-clicking the all-attack button. That is fair enough. This is a real annoying deck. But it's working great when we are hitting our mana. We are now 2-1 heading into game number 4. All right, here we are on another mono blue hand, which can be awkward, but we have a crab and a forwarding and a lock picker. We can play the crab, then we can plot the lock picker. That way the crab draws and discards, trying to find the black source. This is probably our most keepable mono-colored opener. And it's technically not mono-colored, it has the white mana, but the white's for like 2 cards, so I would still... Blue and black are the colors that I'm really counting as actual colors in this deck. Come on out, Canyon Crab. Looks like another Gruul deck. Some more red-green beats. Power 4 greater stuff with the Bristlepack Sentry. Ooh, and the Summoner. I think I need to hold up forwarding here, because if they just play like Snakeskin Veil just to put a +1/+1 counter on one of these, then attack with both, that's going to be horrendous. So I'm just going to hold up the forwarding rather than plotting the lock picker. Just because I really need them to... shoot. Really good 5 mana plays. I'm actually going to discard a Bloodseeker here. Over the Plains. I was, like, really going to discard Plains over anything, but then things have changed. Alright, so they have a power 4 creature, so what does this mean? When the Summoner attacks, they get a 3/1 Dino, and the Sentry gets to attack. Yeah, so this is more than bad enough that we need to failed forwarding something. I think we just failed forwarding the Grizzly, because they can't recast it. So they just move to combat, and now they attack with a single 3/3 and I block it. And they don't get any triggers. If I'm forwarding the Summoner, I am preventing 3/1s for a longer amount of time. But hopefully we can, like, surveil into the Black Source and Desert Stew the Summoner. Ooh. Well... And Deserts do the Summoner next turn, but wow, that's nasty. The quick draw to trigger the Summoner and get the 3/1 anyway. That is rough. I'm going to go full control mode here, because this is definitely the kind of deck that's running Snakeskin Veil, because it's the kind of card that can bring your 3/3s up to 4/4 power for all these power 4 or greater cards. So we want to play around that, but we also want to draw a card, discard a card. So we let the crab trigger, and then in response we Desert Stew. After we get our draw here. So we draw, discard, then we Desert Stew. And still think 5 mana is real important with double Rope Master. Plus I can go Lockpicker, recast Desert Stew next turn, which is crazy. I might get rid of Plan the Heist. No, I'm going to get rid of 1 Rope Master, and I'm probably still doing great. Alright. So let's kill this before they can Snakeskin Veil. Boom. Alright. There we go. And there's the Drover Grizzly back at it again. And no attacks. Okay. Now I can lockpicker and kill the grizzly because they care about power 4 or greater a lot. Worst case scenario, we lockpicker and get rid of their snakeskin veil, which is not bad. It's definitely worse for us, but... Alright, no snakeskin veil. You love to see it. Looks like we're getting pretty stable, and then we use the plan the heist to get ahead. Courser can help them out for sure. Draw them another card every time that attacks, which is going to be only one time, but still. Well, now I've got a getaway glamour, so we can make sure that doesn't attack. Beginning of the next end step. How long does it have flashback? Flashback until end of turn. So this doesn't work with getaway glamour. Unless I can immediately cast whatever I hit, but I won't have the mana, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 for this. I would need 2 mana up. I guess I can. I can play a land and spend 4 mana to getaway glamour to destroy the courser and flicker the lockpicker. Then the lockpicker comes back, and I also fording? I guess. Yeah, I guess that works. I do have to play my land, though, instead of discarding it to the canyon crab. Okay, and then I just discard this land then. Well, that's my second black source, but I've got to draw 3. I think I can discard that. Alright, so I'm going to try to get away glamour when they move to combat. After they saddle up the courser, so we stop their card draw. Of course, this could be just giving them that opportunity to have top decked the Snakeskin Veil. Exile this creature. Destroy this creature. Autopay. Alright, it all works out. And then I can just bounce the 3-1 in the end step. Get another kill. Spine Woods Paladin, hello there. Bring that back. And this costs 3 mana, so I can't do that, but I can do the fording. And surveil, find another black source. I don't mind hitting another black just in case I hit a geese or something, but I don't currently have one, and I've got to draw 3. Yeah, see, there we go. Correct choices. Okay, now let's draw 3. There's a Gisa, and there's a Repulse for the 5/4, but honestly I can just take a hit for now and play Raven. Be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 5 plus 3 for the Repulse. I do get to draw and discard off Canyon Crab instead of playing Raven. That's probably better. Oh wait, no I don't. I just played Plan the Heist. Never mind. I'm a fool and a buffoon, and we should have played Raven. I guess if they have any green removal spells, this could work slightly better for me. If they try to use a green removal spell, I bounce their creature in response and draw. It's pretty good. 2 minus 2 would make it a 2/3. You could activate this in double block and then they kill the canyon crab, but I kill the sentry. I think I'm just gonna soak up the damage and be fine with it. There's a drover grizzly, I'm fine with that. Alright, yeah, not playing Raven is looking really bad. But there's the mana to go Gisa and have Repulse up, which should be game ending. Just repulse the biggest attacker, block everybody else. Next turn, bounce a tap creature with Rope Master and trigger Gisa again, and just completely an insurmountable board state for our opponent. Yeah, no, it's trample. We block with the canyon crab. I mean, we repulse either way. I'm trying to figure out the better blocker for in case they have the veil or something. I don't really want to take 6 to the face if they counter repulse. All right, there's a concession from our opponent. They just didn't have the removal for the Gisa, so we have things firmly controlled from there. And once again, really just cookie cutter how these kind of control decks want to grind things out. Gisa is an incredible bomb rare. But I think this deck would still be decent if she was like a slightly weaker, different kind of bomb rare. You just want to grind things out till you hit your big win condition. We were just lucky enough that our big win condition is incredibly good, and we have 2 copies of it. So it does make things a lot easier when we get to that point where we have stabilized and we try to draw into one of those. So we are 3-1 now, heading into game number 5. All right, here we are for game 5. Definite keep here. We've got the Nibble Brigand to be our card draw engine, and we have the cheap interaction to stay alive. Just try to draw into our goodies off that. Playing against a white deck. This town ain't big enough is nice, because if nothing else, we can use this to bounce our own Brigand against their removal spells to try to preserve our card draw engine. Keep it around. How badly do I want to commit crimes here? I don't think badly enough to take 3 from this Erynx this early. I'm going to slow that down. Ooh, intimidation campaign 2. Alright, replay the Erynx. Oh, how I would love to have a campaign down before I commit any crimes. I think I'm still in a perfectly good position to just brigand for crimes. I don't want to tap out for intimidation campaign here, because that'd be really bad against the green removal spells at common. You know, put a +1/+1 counter on Erynx and then shoot the brigand. That kind of stuff. So I think we are kind of just locked in to kill the Erynx, hit for 1. Sorry, intimidation campaign value. Alright, I'm actually really okay with Snakeskin Veil here because we still get to hit for 1, draw the card. And if they do try to use the throw from the saddle, green removal, we've still got this town ain't big enough in response. So, like, I still have the mana up to play around that. They're going to plot the big 5/4. Okay. Lonely Arroyo. It's going to commit a bunch of crimes. I don't need to commit a crime right now to get in with Brigand, though. So let's drop Intimidation Campaign and hold up this town ain't big enough. I think there's Gisa. So next turn I can cast Gisa and play Arroyo and get all the tokens, which is definitely the play. Yeah, this feels good. I mean, I guess since I have a Gisa coming up, I really don't need to protect Brigand from removal that badly. Although, like, the alternative of playing a Canyon Crab or a Raven just means they can kill one of these and get in with everybody. If they have their removal. You know, I think I'll play the Raven here. I don't think I need to hold up this bounce. If they kill anything I currently have on board, that's just one less removal spell to kill Gisa with. Oh, no attacks into the 1/2 Raven. Let's go. Surprising, but I will happily take it. Here's Gisa. And here's a crime. Cha-ching! Make money, money, make money, money, money. I don't love having just Gisa up as a blocker. Yeah, you know what? I'll save Raven for a chump block. Just in case. They have like 9 power on board. Which is quite a lot. Yeah, if they flash something in and they have like the +2/+2 to everybody or something, like, this is a significant amount of damage we are taking on the crackback against some kind of board pump. Festering Gulch was a really good draw. Wow. Alright. Raven soaks up 4 of this damage. Do they have 2 mana removal for Gisa? They do not, so she is still around, which means we commit a crime right now and have this town ain't big enough to commit another crime. Let's just do it. Gain a life, draw a card, commit a crime. Cha-ching. This is return a permanent we control, right? So I'm going to decline so that I don't have to, like, bounce one of my own zombies for this town ain't big enough. It's 17, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think I hold up some chumps. Even with this town ain't big enough. Whew, journey to nowhere. Alright, so they're going to stagecoach security, get a huge swing here. Yep. They kill one zombie, I kill the Erranks. They play a trick, I respond with my own trick. I am taking 9 if I don't bounce a non-Erranks card, but I think preventing the life gain is still worth it. Trying to find like a lethal crackback here, exiling another blocker. Having a bunch of menace zombies. We're stopping them from gaining 6 and killing 2 of our attackers. The only issue is if there's like a 2 mana +3/+3 combat trick, which there technically is. There's like a 2 mana give a creature double strike the line of turn. We'll see. That one's an uncommon. Like, if they combat trick us here, we're dead. If they don't combat trick us here, then they're dead. I think this game is ending this turn or next turn. That is not quite enough. That could be 2 +1/+1 counters. That's like literally 1 damage off. Alright. Well, a little sketchy at the end there. Maybe should have held a little more blocks up throughout the game, but Gisa still locks it in for us, and we are 4-1, guaranteed to have a positive record out of this deck as we head into Game 6. All right, here we are for Game 6. We're on a mono black here mostly, but we actually do still have Blood Hustler and Journey to Nowhere off this random white source, so we have 2 good early plays, and if we hit any blue source, we're in a really good spot. Take the gamble with 2 early spells that are both great. Find a Brigand, which is another really excellent card to have when we find a blue source. Desert Stew. Well, if our opponent plays any creatures, our Blood Hustler is going to get very happy, but they're on blue-black, so they might just be, you know, playing Campaign next turn, going nice and slow here, just play their own Desert Stew on Hustler for now. We'll see. Alright, Nimble Brigand, I have to Journey to Nowhere that, because we don't have a desert on board. Uh-oh. Well, this is starting to look real bad. First few draw steps have not found a land. So we missed playing a land on turn 3 and turn 4. Resolve, which is really high toughness. Well, Binding Negotiation is something we can cast here at least. 1 black mana up. If they have Skullduggery, this is a 2/5. That turns into a 2/2 because I would commit a crime. So 2/5 -3/3. I'd still survive a Skullduggery, so I think I'm going to send in with the Desert Stew against Lazav if they have the Skullduggery. Or if they don't have the Skullduggery, sorry. Alright, and if they don't block, that's fine too. Let me just negotiation. Actually, no, Skullduggery would have been really, really bad for me. Oh, hey, there it is, by the way. Yeah, because I forgot that puts a counter on it too. Wait, no, yeah, Skullduggery would have got me there, I think. Maybe not quite killing Hustler, but definitely would have saved Lazav. I think I still have to take Stop Cold, though. So I still have all my abilities on Blood Hustler, but that Skullduggery math is going to suck. Luckily, our opponent's a little flooded out right now, so if we start hitting the mana, we're still in this game, despite, you know, having skipped lands on like 3 turns in a row here. And there is a mana. It's not a blue source, but it is still good. This will be a 4/4 Hustler attacking into a 3/6, actually a 4/7. So we can't attack into the Skullduggery here without casting Desert Stew, and we still wouldn't kill Lazav with the Desert Stew because Hustler wouldn't get another counter. So Lazav would be like 5 toughness. Lazav would remain a 2/5, basically, when they use Skullduggery. And a 4/4 would not kill a 2/5. Or a 3/3, because we would get -1/-1. Send in Lazav. Okay, well now Blood Hustler would be a 5/5, getting -1/-1, so it would be a 4/4, and Lazav would be a 3/6 from Skullduggery and a +1/+1 counter from committing a crime. So a 4/7 getting -2/-2, Lazav would remain a 2/5, it would be a 4/4 bouncing off a 2/5, so the block still isn't good. Even though we haven't committed a crime this turn, so we could get another counter on Hustler. Oh no, it's -3/-3 now, never mind. It would be exactly enough, I think. Oh no. Lockpicker? Oh, they have nothing to do though, it's just going to be for a Skullduggery. Yeah, I probably should have Desert Stew blocked there. But hey. So now they could Skullduggery and then Lockpicker's Skullduggery again. But Lazav with -3/-3 after committing a crime. I don't even know. This math is ridiculous. I just know if we hit any 2 lands, we win. If we hit a blue source, we win. So I think I play it really slow here and just get on blocks and just see what nonsense Skullduggery math is. I know Blood Hustler definitely doesn't die. I just don't think Lazav dies either. I don't know if Lazav dies, I should say. Because I think even like flashing back the Lockpicker post-combat, or flashing back the Skullduggery post-combat isn't going to finish off the Hustler, like unless they top decked a counterspell here. And they did. Oh my god, and it's the really punishing one when you just can't draw lands. Counter unless you pay 2 and get a 2/2 flyer? No! Yikes, and there's the Intimidation campaign now. Set up their card draw engine. This is brutal. This is going to be our only losses have been due to severe mana issues in the 18 land deck. It's really rough. Yeah. All right, well, you got me. That is 4-2 now heading into game 7. Sometimes just cannot find the manas. Here we are now for game 7. We got both of our main colors right off the bat. We need to draw 1 land to get to Intimidation campaign, to draw another card to try to find more. Especially if we get the 4th mana, we should be super fine. I am going to keep this. I think this is even better than our last keep, even though this technically only has 1 castable card, whereas our last hand had 2. I just think these cards are better at finding more mana, because even if we don't make it to 3 mana, the Fording gets to surveil 1 and mill a non-land card towards finding another land. Ankle Biter turn 1. And there we go, there's land 3, so I can Intimidation Campaign turn 3 and just get rolling from there. Mono green for now, we're down to 19. And let's just gain that life right back with Intimidation Campaign. There's a Gisa. We can make it to 5 mana this time around. Still mono green here, turn 3. Uh-oh. Double Gisa. Never want to see that. I don't really care about bouncing a 1/1, so I'm just going to plot the Lockpicker for later. Not that I'm casting it anytime soon, just get that mana investment out of the way. Yeah, I feel like they're probably stuck off of a second color, and I guess we can find out now with Binding Negotiation over Failed Fording. Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I won't have to discard a card. Oh, they're done. They're over it? Fair enough. I was just checking to make sure I wasn't going to pick up Intimidation Campaign and then have to discard the hand size, because then I don't think it would be worth it, because I have enough crimes to just pick this up later. Yeah, as long as I'm not discarding the hand size, we are 100% picking that thing up. Alright, well, I don't know what was going on. Maybe their hand was going to be like 6 forests or something, and they're just like, you know what, whatever. I'm out. Who knows? Who knows? But we are now 5-2, heading into round number 8. All right, here we are for round 8. Some pretty beautiful mana here. Snap Keep. We're on the draw this game. They're starting with a Bristling Backwoods, so starting with that red-green dual land. Played against a lot of red-green today. Beastbond Outcaster has been plotted, so if they play the 3-mana 4/2, they're going to be in an excellent position. Cast the 3-mana 4/2 and then the Outcaster as well. I guess I could Fording the 3-mana 4/2 to stop the Outcaster from drawing a card if I'm that confident that they've got a good curve out, but I don't know for sure that they have a 3-mana 4-power creature. Definitely want to hold up a bounce spell on turn 4. Oh no, Bristly Bill, Mega Bomb. 2-mana Mega Bomb. They get a +1/+1 counter every time they play a land, and later they can just keep doubling up all those +1/+1 counters. Bill is gross. Let's just draw this card off of Canyon Crab, looking for another black source. But worst case scenario, we can repulse Bill, because they're probably going to try to put a another counter on Bristly Bill, so they can cast the Outcaster and have a 4/4 on board. Yeah, and then I can bounce Bill in response so that they don't draw the card. But they do get to just recast Bill. But now they don't draw a card, and they lose a couple +1/+1 counters. So that feels pretty good. I could go untapped land to plan the heist, or I can play a tap land to set up Consuming Ashes more quickly. I think I want to just set up Consuming Ashes. Make sure I have double black. Could play Brigand here, but I can also hold up Failed Fording and draw and discard off of Crab again, which feels perfectly valuable. Especially with an extra planes in the hand. This is kind of a free discard. Voracious Varmints. Alright, I will try to keep that in mind if we hit our really good enchantment. There's no attacks, they're just going to pass turn, fair enough. Raven of Fell Omens. I cannot play anything and still hold up Consuming Ashes. I could play a Brigand and hold up the Fording still. I really actually don't hate that. Oh wait, no I can't. I don't have double blue. Never mind. Play a Raven and hold up a Fording. I kind of want to just kill Bill. And I kind of want to do it before they untap so they don't get another +1/+1 counter onto the board. So let's do it in response to Crab again. Let's get our trigger, but then Consuming Ashes. Oh, Getaway Glamour? That is great. Let's get rid of the... Well, that's kind of hard. I think Rope Master is going to be pretty excellent here, as is the draw 3. I'm going to get rid of the Raven. And consume Bill. Surveil 2. I'm cool with another land, and then I'm also cool with a Jailbreak Scheme. But we'll probably work our way towards a Gisa here. Actually get towards a win condition. I've got lots of bounce in the hand already, so... Let's stop more damage. Alright, Derailment, 4 damage. Yeah, Crab dies to that no matter where I block. Unless I choose to not block at all, which I don't think is right. Getaway Glamour costs 3 mana to kill there, 3/3. I can also just Rope Master it back, but it could draw them a card later. They like replotted here. We'll still be ahead in card advantage. I mean, look at our hand. We have a draw 3, we have a draw like every other turn or something like that. We can give them back a piece of card draw to slow them down and give us more time to find a Gisa. Okay. It's the second blue for Plan the Heist if I want to hard cast it. One 3 is already good enough to block the 2/2, so I think I'm just going to go Brigand plus plot the Plan the Heist here. And that way I get to start attacking with Rope Master. Speed up this game a little bit, start actually damaging our opponent. Alright, take 4. So I can Brigand and plot Plan the Heist, or I can hold up Getaway Glamour if I'm super nervous here, but I'm not. We'll save all our crimes to use with Brigand later. Yeah, throw from the saddle, I don't mind that. We've still got to Plan the Heist. There's a Lockpicker for the Plan the Heist. Could work great too. Alright, I do enjoy that. No Gisa yet. Probably Lockpicker Plan the Heist. I don't have the next blue to do it. So we plot the Lockpicker to do it next turn. Because I need triple blue. I can't plot Plan the Heist from grave, I have to cast it for double blue. So we do that and then hold up all the interaction and keep sending in. We're doing more damage than they are. And I'm holding this desert in hand so that when we do hit a Gisa, we can commit a crime without having to actually spend any cards. If no other creature has greater power. I could, this town ain't big enough for 5. That's pretty fun too. Sure. Whee! Journey to Nowhere. Alright. Let us replan the heist. First go around didn't work so well. We've made a new plan. And Double Gisa is that new plan. Still a mana off from playing a Gisa and immediately committing a crime, because I needed to play an untapped land to play a Gisa here. So I think I'm just holding up the 5 mana Glamour. Although even with that Glamour or forwarding up, I don't really want to attack into a 3/3 and a 2/2. and have to spend anything when I have double Gisa coming up. I can obviously only play one at a time, but the backup is still nice. All right, here we go. Time to get out the body bag for our opponent. You know what? I'll play Blood Hustler. I still have Fording or the Flicker from Glamour up. I should have played Blood Hustler pre-land, obviously. Get another +1/+1 counter. Alright, there's the concession from our opponents. Grind the game out, spend a bunch of card draw, dig 3/4 of the way through our deck, find our massive win condition, and use our massive win condition. Thus is the way of blue-black crime control. We are now 6-2, heading into the final boss with this deck. I think this deck has gone great. Honestly, the only issues being mana issues, and our mana base is not that bad. It's not as good as I said it was. I did say it was 9 blue sources and 9 black sources, which it technically is because of the Bandits Hall, but it's actually only 8 lands of each of our main colors. So it's not like an incredible mana base, but that is the only way we've lost so far was just some mana issues. So if we can draw some solid stuff, maybe we can do some solid control things yet again, find our 7th victory, and get a full trophy run out of this draft. But no matter what happens, being 6-2 in a quick draft is enough to leave the event with more gems than you paid to get in. So we're in the money either way. Heading into that final battle, our final game of Magic, win or lose. And here we are for the final boss. We've got our Gisa at the ready. We have Intimidation Campaign to play off the Bandits Hall. We need to find one more black source. But I think the hand is perfectly keepable thanks to the Bandits Hall. And if we are lucky and we draw some cheap interaction, I think the hand will be great. If we don't find any interaction, we could get rolled right over by some aggressive decks. Because we don't actually have any removal or bounce or anything like that in the opener. I think that is the biggest weakness outside of the mana not being great. But we'll see how things work out. Now having a Rope Master to ramp into off the Bandits Hall, I feel like the hand's a little better now. I like that quite a bit. So now even if they do have an aggressive start, we get a 4/4 down and slow them down. I think I Bandits Hall over the tap land here, because either way I'm not going to be able to Gisa next turn, right? Because if I play the tap land now, I have to play the Bandits Hall next turn, which means not playing Gisa. Regardless, because I spend all the mana to get the Hall onto the board. So this way I can at least play the campaign before I play the Barons, and I can pick it back up. Seraphic Steed is real spooky, but I guess I could Rope Master that, if nothing else. Yeah, there's an untapped land for next turn, but I do need a black source for Gisa. But we are probably waiting to cast Gisa until I have cheap enough crimes to commit to cast her and play a crime in the same turn. So I think it is just going to be Rope Master next turn, bounce the Steed, and hope to keep this thing off of me. If they play a 4-power creature here, this is going to be very bad. Where they start getting the Angels. They do gain 2 life no matter what here, so this is a free attack for them. This doesn't necessarily mean they have any kind of trick, and it looks like they don't. There's the cheap crime to commit. But it is still 3 mana, and I'm at 6, so I need 8 total to play Gisa and Scheme in the same turn. So for now, we probably play Rope Master. I could play Campaign and still have 3 mana up. It's not horrific. Yeah, I mean, I do just keep bouncing off Steed, but I do really like threatening to actually kill it when it attacks in, so they can't just, like, if they hit a 4-power creature, just mount it up and go crazy. Or saddle it up. I mean, I guess Crab threatens to kill it too. If I have the mana to make it a 2/3. Yeah, no, Intimidation Campaign probably would have been pretty fine too. When you think of it that way, I just keep forgetting about the +2/-2 on the Crab. Although that would play pretty poorly against like every combat trick in the set. Okay, we are 1 land from Gisa plus Scheme. 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 out of 8 mana. I can't play another Rope Master and Campaign in the same turn, but I could Campaign and Jailbreak Scheme. But then I don't have the Scheme to go with Gisa. Well, we have guaranteed that land to go Gisa Scheme next turn, so I think I'm going to hold off here and then just draw a card off Bandit's Hall with my additional mana. But I'll hold up the mana to make Crab a 2/3 as well for now, just in case they like kill Rope Master instead. Like a Lasso by the Law or something. Alright, looks like no sending in of Steed. We just take a couple cow damage. No, we don't. They don't even send in the cow. Sweet. Alright, here we go. Gisa plus... even Binding Negotiation instead of Jailbreak Scheme, and we get to see exactly what's going on in their hand, which is nice too. Yeah, I guess the way they've been playing, we don't need the Steed to be bounced right now. They are done. They are over it. Gisa continues to be absurd. They see all of the crime triggers on the stack, and they are done. They are reporting us to the police as we speak. We are officially 7-2. We got a full trophy run out of this deck, and our only 2 losses were to mana issues. The first one, we did mulligan a couple times trying to get out of it, and just fell farther into the mana issues. And the second time, we kept a 2-lander with 2 castable spells. Really hoped to hit mana and just hit it really slow there. So yeah, overall a really good showing from this deck. I don't think our losses were too much more than just some variance there. And every time that we hit some decent mana, we still had some great games. And even some of our greedier keeps with some riskier mana did manage to grind out well in the late game. Even if we did hit lands a little slowly, we were still able to get there with just so much late game card advantage engines. The Intimidation Campaign, Bandit's Hall, and Brigand Dream Team, all 3 of these coming in hot. A lot of these games to dig through our deck, we frequently got down to like 15 cards left, so we were casting Gisa in every single game because we have 2 copies, so the odds of them being in the top 20 or 30 are pretty dang high. So a lot of just grinding things out, slowing our opponents down, committing a lot of crimes to keep digging, and then finishing things off with some Gisas. It was a fantastic time in our first quick draft of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. That's going to be the full prize out of 950 gems and 2 packs of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.